But if I were to ask you honest, because I don't feel like I know where you're at, has your assessment of Brock changed?
No.
Is your eyebrow going up just a little further in regard to, let me see what he does, not just Monday night in Minnesota, but for the next few games?
No.
So this is a top 5 quarterback we're talking. That
No.
I have him in my.
No, not necessarily. No, not necessarily.
Where you got him at?
I don't know. 10. My feeling on Brock Purdy is if you give him the protection you gave him for 10 games, he's going to be fine. And you have all the weapons that you have and everybody's healthy.
But that's a perfect scenario.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So if and when the 49ers have to operate without a guy, if more falls on Purdy, can he handle it? Can they get by? Can they thrive? Can they win without missing a beat? That's fair to look for, but it doesn't sound like it's going to be this Monday because looks like they may be altogether healthy if Christian McCaffrey does end up playing.
Now, I'm not coming at you, Steiny.
Go ahead, come at me.
I'm flabbergasted a little because you've given him kudos for his escapability. Like,
nobody could escape. That game was lost by the offensive line.
Ooh.
Period.
Well, I could say it was lost by the defensive line, too, giving up 160, letting them hold the ball 36.
I could say Ayuk blew the game.
Lost.
The minute Ayuk dropped a touchdown pass, they were in trouble.
But we can put Purdy.
Purdy missed a bad throw.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm just saying every pocket's not going to be the holy grail.
That's right.
I thought this guy's bringing something to the table when we talk about he's elusive just enough. We talked about that.
Well, you can't be elusive just enough when they're bearing down on you. You're right. I think that's fair.
I'm looking at the numbers just from Sunday. It was bad. Michael Jackson bad, Steiny.
See, I really don't. To me, the offensive, you know what? They stunk. They stunk. They probably didn't stink, but.
No, they didn't have their best game.
We had Jennifer Lee Chan on. She said that she thought that's the most duress he was under in his career.
But that comes with the position, Steiny.
But you're not right. And that's why I'm asking Evan and you, well, how would Dak have done? How would Herbert have done? Because my way of thinking is nobody plays well in that situation. Now,
some of them.
Could Ayuk have made that catch and everything would have looked a little different? Yeah.
Or Purdy made a better throw?
Sure.
Okay. But what I'm getting concerned with, not even concerned, is moving forward. If it's got to be Picasso in the pocket for Purdy to do what he's done, Steiny, I'll tell you this. That playoff game real quick against Dallas last year, here in January, that pocket was messy. Dallas didn't get a lot of sacks, but he was under duress, but he handled it.
Did he? He had his worst game.
But he didn't throw a pick. He protected the football. So I guess Monday night now, what's my Rolodex to watch Purdy? If the pocket's or any other top-tier quarterback, if the pocket's a little messy, then you got
little messy?
Because Mahomes
messy.
Mahomes, we see what he does.
That's Patrick freaking Mahomes. Right. He's one of a kind.
Right.
He's the most. All I'm saying is if that's the offensive line, I'll say it again. If that's the offensive line you're working with for the rest of the year, you're going nowhere.
All right, Steiny.
With any quarterback.
That's what I'm doing.
Any quarterback.
Yeah, I'm going to defend the offensive line because after the Pittsburgh game, McKivitz, T.J. Watt with the 3 sacks, I was like, it's an issue. It had been an issue all season long, and it was on some people's to-do list or concern, but I'm not giving up on the O-line after that game against arguably the best defense, if not the best defense in the NFL. So my bigger point is we're not going to see that every Sunday. He's not going to be under that duress.
We'll see. That's up to the offensive line. And here's the other thing about that the offensive line is, let's be honest, we thought it might have been the biggest issue heading into the season. Then we forgot about it. Then they played a great defensive team, and they got exposed a little. I say they. I don't say Purdy. got exposed. Again, you know how I feel about quarterbacks.
But the offensive line was great against Dallas.
Right, and he played a phenomenal game. He had 4 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
There's a correlation there, Goo. Like, you're right, he's not going to have as much protection as he's had a lot of his career. Or he will, and then it's over. Like, if you protect him like you have protected him, then they are going to be hard to beat.
You know what word came to mind? Because, again, I was looking at you like, man, I'm not trying to say I know Mahomes is one of a kind. But at the quarterback position, Steiny, some live on it like Lamar Jackson. I'm not the biggest fan because I don't think there's enough. There's too much shake and not enough bake. But can you ad-lib just enough? And Brock Purdy can ad-lib, I believe, from what we've seen, just enough. So that's why I'm not coming down the offensive line's road like it seems like you are, and you ain't by yourself, because he had some time to make some connections. There were some wobblers, and Danger was like, well,
I'm not saying he played well.
It was bad conditions. Well, if we're going to say that, then nobody's ever, so I can't judge a player if it's raining?
No, not if it's, rain doesn't matter to me. It's protection. Protection. I don't believe he was, Brock Purdy is really good at escapability, let's call it. But there's sometimes where it don't matter. I mean, it does. France Harkington got sacked at times.
Sunday it did matter. They were on him.
Exactly.
But he still was inaccurate when he had time.
And he led them to the 40, to a 40-yard field goal. And that's the part that I think is interesting. Moody makes that field goal. We're not talking about Purdy. We're talking about Purdy winning without his best stuff. But because they lost, now we're saying, well, what if Purdy regresses? Well, he's going to regress if that's the offensive line. Wouldn't every quarterback who's ever played?
No, we've seen situations where quarterbacks don't hike and the guy's on you and it's like, what's wrong with Steiny? I have no effing time. But Cleveland, you got to give them credit. My thing is moving forward, why I don't think this is a big deal. It's just like you said, Steiny. I don't think Minnesota can duplicate what Dallas couldn't do. Maybe Seattle, maybe the Rams, but they already played the Rams, and he carved them up. He's carved up everybody's
when
played
he's got time, just like any quarterback, or most. You give him time. With these weapons, he gets time bought for him. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Like, that's the way I feel, because I do feel like I've seen him 5 games this year where he just was back there picking apart teams. And if you're so Cleveland's really good.
Yeah.
Cleveland's really good. Guess what? They gave him trouble. Okay, well, maybe they're the exact same thing as the Eagles. Let's say the Eagles defense is just as good as the Browns. All right, well, you're going to have to beat the Eagles 2017 then. Right. You're not going to get 35
And you may have
points.
to see Dallas again. I'm just saying that. I know you were like, I think they got their number. They do, but you're right.
8-1-8. He put him in a position to win the game. He did.
Well, I just think it's interesting because, like, taking Dak Prescott, right? So Dak Prescott last night beat Justin Herbert, and today we're all talking about how Justin Herbert wasn't very good, and we make it all about the quarterback head-to-head record, right? Purdy's beat Dak twice. He's beaten Tua. He's beaten Tom Brady. So are we going to look back and say, well, yeah, but he lost to P.J. Walker? Like, that's the other variable that's interesting to me about this is it's not as if the Cleveland Browns played it like a great offensive game.
Right.
They gave
oh my gosh,
the Browns won the turnover battle. The Niners won the turnover battle.
You're right. But to that point, Evan, I would say to you and Steiny, Brock Purdy doesn't play defense. So when you mentioned P.J. Walker and the 2 turnovers, he tried to throw the Niners the game away. We can focus on that, but I don't think that takes away. I don't know if you agree with Steiny to where if the pocket's messy, I still can't expect my quarterback to be accurate or ad-lib, which I thought I saw from Brock. Even when he ad-libbed, it almost wasn't a must, but Sunday it was a must. But I saw throws where he had time and he was off. And I think that's fair to not blame on the O-line.
No, I agree with you, because there were also some pockets that were clean that he did not make good throws in. Like, there were times in which he was bad, but he did, to his credit, put them in a position to win after getting bailed out on a 3rd and 10 hold call that started that drive. Like, it's just interesting to me how when Purdy's been winning, it's all about, well, he's this, he's that, he's taken down these quarterbacks, he's beaten these teams, and we've looked at him as an individual. But the moment that he's lost, or in the future, I think this is also going to happen too, in the future, if and when he loses, we're going to look at it as a team failure. But when they win, it's Brock Purdy as an individual doing these things.
I don't think that. I don't think Brock Purdy was winning games by himself before Sunday. Like that to me was the thing about the Niners was they just looked like they weren't even pressured at all the first 5 games.
Oh, boy.
They blew teams out. So,
but he was stellar.
Well, he had time. He's doing his taxes back there. And guys are coming open, like Kittle. He bought himself an extra second or two. The next thing you know, Kittle's like, here's where I come from.
Yeah.
You know who I think was one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? And I'm dead serious. Top
Kirk
5,
Cousins.
Top 5 or 10.
I can't wait to hear it.
Archie Manning.
All right, I'm not mad at that.
Okay. Well, he never won. Why? Because his team stunk.
But
year after year after year. And if you give the 49ers Archie Manning in his prime right now, I think they're pretty good.
I'm going to say something to that because I was an Archie Manning fan. And I'm not doing this to ruffle your boat. Steiny, when people look at Archie Manning, I think they know that, and they saw how much of a badass he was. I think when people look at Kirk Cousins, it was like, okay, dude, you've been in situations that Archie didn't even get to, that would have gave his right arm to try to get to. So when you say Archie Manning's
better than Kirk Cousins.
There's no doubt.
Okay.
But but I don't look at Archie and detract and say, you didn't win because I knew what you were dealing with, but you were a badass in your environment.
Do you feel that way about Daniel Jones?
No, let's just look at Cousins real quick. I look at Cousins
he's not in this conversation.
Well, Steiny,
we're talking about Purdy.
All right, I'm going to tell you.
What do you want to say about Kirk Cousins? Go ahead.
No, I just felt like if you got paid like Billy Badass, you can make every throw. But Kirk, I believe if you were that guy or half that guy, you might even be in a Super Bowl or NFC championship game. And when the money's on the line, I think he's Tony Romo. He's not the only one. He'll mess it up.
Maybe that's what Purdy is.
And I'm going to say something about Brock. How many weeks of this season have I come in, Evan? I was at the Giant game. There's some throws, Steiny, that I feel like he's getting away with. Cleveland was it was like a microcosm of all the bad throws that every quarterback makes. All the chickens came home to roost in that Cleveland game. How about that? We've saw throws, the defenders, the bomb to Arizona here, where he threw into double coverage, and the guy's waiting for the interception, and somehow he's goes the wrong way. It's a pass. It's a whop to Ayuk. But I feel like that's the stuff that didn't happen Sunday. So now moving forward, nobody's going to say it. I am. I know that doesn't erase what you've done, Brock, but the rat on the table, if we saw 2 or 3 turbulent games from him and some interceptions, I think, oh my gosh, we'd be in here taking calls, having a conversation like, did we get out in front of our skis?
Exactly. Yeah, we will. And rightfully freaking so.
Wow. That's a wow.
Again,
man.
I mean, listen,
No, I get it, man. It's the nature of the beast.
They have dominated the first 5 games.
Facts.
They played somebody pretty good. They got beat. Brock Purdy played his worst game because I thought he was under more duress than he's been under in any game he's played. Now, do you blame the weather? No, but, I mean, it's a low-scoring game, both teams.
Huh?
So, I mean, here's what I feel like. I feel like Brock Purdy is who he is. You give him time, he's really good. He'll process, he'll pick it apart. But he's also like every other quarterback where you pressure him, he ain't the same. But that's every quarterback, right?
Right.
But being called every other quarterback doesn't sound like a franchise quarterback.
And now, man,
Wait, one more time?
Being labeled like every other quarterback doesn't sound to me like a franchise quarterback. Like
Aaron
to be
Rodgers,
the franchise, you have to be different than just any other quarterback, right?
Well, I mean, but you could say he's 10-1. Like, I also think that.
But you were the one that also said Jimmy Garoppolo started 16, and I think Brock Purdy's a better quarterback than him. But that's kind of the same argument we used.
Jimmy was a winner.
Previous.
Well, I thought Jimmy was a franchise quarterback. To me, after they paid him, he was kind of a franchise quarterback. But what I'm saying is, and I think Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy Garoppolo too. But in the Kyle Shanahan system, there are a lot of guys who touch the ball, and if they're clicking, you know what? Maybe you don't have to. The 49ers can ask less of their quarterback than some other teams because they have more weapons than other teams. You know, it's like if Brock Purdy's a point guard and you've got 4 weapons, well, then he doesn't need to score. He just needs to distribute. Now, the Warriors, Steph Curry's a point guard. Maybe they need him to score a little bit more. Listen, I'm not saying Purdy didn't play below average or Purdy had his worst game of the year, but I think there's a lot of reasons for that, including he played his worst game of the year.
See, and mine is I'm looking you dead in the face, and everybody on YouTube and the Comcast business text line, like, yeah, the whole team played like crap. That we can agree of, but I don't know why it's triggering me, Steiny, to where, because the O-line or the pocket was collapsing or dirty, I can't expect my franchise quarterback to like we see Aaron Rodgers do for his whole career, or Randall Cunningham, like buy some time and complete the pass.
How would Brady have done in that game? Like forget Brady for a second. Like
we would have got rid of the ball.
Is there another quarterback who would have handled things much better than Brock Purdy given the same situation?
Yeah, I believe Josh Allen with a strong arm.
Fair.
Okay.
Second best quarterback in football. Who else?
Patrick Mahomes.
Best quarterback in football.
Matt Stafford.
Okay.
Because I thought arm strength was a part of why, in those conditions, Purdy's ball was looking like Jimmy's.
Well, that's why it's stupid after 10 games to say he's a top 5 quarterback. He looks pretty good. He looks pretty good, especially when he has time and when they're healthy and he's got all those weapons. He looks pretty good. There's no doubt. Can we get JJ here? Let's get JJ. JJ's in San Jose. What's up, JJ? How you doing?
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call. You know, I think, even though we're making some valid points, I do think people are overreacting. That, they think, I think one game is not enough to say you should worry. Obviously, it's not the way that they wanted to play, but I think he's done enough good, in my opinion, and so has the Niners overall. And granted, circumstances were circumstances, but people need to calm down, man. All of a sudden, first he's that guy, now people are worried. Come on, man.
Yeah, and that's why I said I'm more worried about the offensive line than Purdy.
Well, yeah, I would be if they played Cleveland every week.
Okay, but what's the difference between...
They're not.
Brock Purdy has played really good football for 10 games, and then he had a bad game. Okay, the offensive line's played really good football for Brock Purdy for 10 games, and they stunk Sunday. So guess what? We lost. Yeah. And Purdy didn't look as good as he's looked all season.
All right.
The other thing is, like we've been saying, he's like, he missed 3 throws against the Rams.
Well,
I mean, he's going to miss throws. He's a quarterback. Yeah. Like, that's the thing that really pisses me off. There's not, like, Brock Purdy's been more accurate than any quarterback in the league this year, right? He's thrown, before the game, he was at 70%.
Yeah. Oh, my, that's...
And he's got some bad throws.
Or we say the system.
Everybody's got bad throws. Just a matter of, do you get a break and nothing happened,
The bottom line, partner, is he set the damn bar in such a short time, so damn high.
You know what?
Steiny, there's going to be That's all this is really about.
And this is where I'm sorry to cut you off, but this is where I'd say they set the bar high. The 49ers, not Brock Purdy.
Expand on that.
Because it's about the team.